One more thing before we start. If you would like to gain access to our best exclusive sports picks to take your journey to the next level, then check out our Patreon in the link down below where we offer our best single picks, parlay picks, and much more. Now let's get started. Michigan versus Michigan State. The Wolverines are heading to East Lansing to face off against the Spartans in a heated in-state rivalry game. Michigan has been going through a rough patch recently, bringing their season record to 22-8. On the other hand, Michigan State is sitting at 25-5 and just secured the Big Ten regular season championship with a win at Iowa earlier this week. This matchup carries a lot of weight as both teams look to build momentum heading into the postseason. This game has major implications for both the conference tournament and potential NCAA tournament seeding. However, it's worth noting that Michigan State has already clinched the Big Ten regular season title for the 11th time, tying them for the most in conference history. With the Spartans having locked up the championship, there's a chance they might ease up a bit before the conference tournament, which adds an interesting layer to this matchup. Meanwhile, Michigan has been struggling over their last 10 games, making this a tricky game to predict. The Wolverines will need to dig deep to turn things around against a dominant Spartans squad. Michigan's offense, ranked 54th in adjusted efficiency and 32nd in effective field goal percentage, is led by Danny Wolf, a 7-foot center who is a force on both ends of the floor. Wolf is not only a strong rebounder and elite shot blocker, but also shoots over 40% from three-point range. His ability to stretch the floor and create open looks for his teammates could be a key factor against a Michigan State defense that, while solid, has some vulnerabilities. The Spartans rank 236th in forcing turnovers and allow a lot of open three-point attempts. Teams shooting against Michigan State are due for some positive regression, as the Spartans rank 10th in three-point percentage allowed despite giving up so many attempts. This could work in Michigan's favor, as they should have opportunities to knock down open threes and exploit the Spartans' defensive gaps. Michigan will come into this game with plenty of motivation. They're looking to avoid a 3-game losing streak heading into the Big Ten tournament and to prevent a season sweep by their rivals. While Michigan State has depth and a strong defensive presence, they might play a bit more conservatively now that they've secured the #1 seed in the conference tournament. Both teams excel defensively, ranking 1st and 2nd in field goal defense in the Big Ten. The key to this game could be Michigan's ability to hit threes and keep things competitive. The Spartans are last in the conference in three-point shooting and rely more on their inside game, but Michigan has the size to match up with them in the paint. The Wolverines also rank 4th in the Big Ten in three-pointers made per game, which could help them trade threes for twos. Interestingly, Michigan State is just 4-6 against the spread in their last 10 games against Michigan, suggesting this could be a tight, one-possession battle. I've been skeptical of Michigan over the past month, but this feels like a good spot to bet against Michigan State. Tom Izzo's team might be due for a letdown, while Michigan is coming off back-to-back tough losses at home and should be hungry to bounce back. As our first pick for this matchup, the Michigan Wolverines to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Michigan State's defense has been stellar lately, with their last 10 games going 2-8 to the over. Michigan, despite their struggles, has also been solid defensively, going 4-6 to the over in their last 10. Both teams are among the best in the Big Ten in field goal defense and are strong rebounding teams, which should limit second chance points for either side. These factors point to a low-scoring, grinded-out type of game. In their first meeting this season, the two teams combined for just 137 points, staying well under the 151-point total. Michigan ranks 64th in tempo, according to Ken Palm, so they can push the pace when needed. However, they struggled to impose their will in the first matchup against the Spartans. The Wolverines have scored 73 points or fewer in 4 of their last 5 games. Michigan State, ranked 157th in tempo, prefers to play at a slower pace and patiently work for good shots. During their 6-game winning streak, they've scored 75 points or fewer 4 times. Historically, these two teams tend to play tight, defensive games, with the undergoing 6-4 in their last 10 meetings. This Sunday's game is shaping up to be a physical, hard-fought battle rather than a high-scoring affair. Both teams pride themselves on defense and rebounding, and with so much at stake, expect a gritty performance from both sides. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. Minnesota versus Rutgers. The Big Ten Conference will see a matchup between the Minnesota Golden Gophers and the Rutgers Scarlet Knights this Sunday. This game marks the first time these two teams will face off this season, adding some intrigue to the contest. Historically, Rutgers has had the upper hand in recent meetings, going 6-4 straight up and 5-5 against the spread in their last 10 games against Minnesota. Additionally, the over has hit in 7 of those 10 matchups, suggesting a trend toward higher scoring games when these teams meet. Despite their overall record of 14-16, Rutgers has been much stronger at home, boasting a 10-5 straight-up record with an average margin of victory of +5 points in those games. This home court advantage could prove decisive against a struggling Minnesota team that has been near the bottom of the conference standings. Rutgers also holds a slight edge in the KenPom rankings, sitting at 76th in adjusted efficiency margin compared to Minnesota's 89th. With a talented young duo in Dylan Harper and Ace Bailey, Rutgers has the firepower to finish the season on a high note. As our first pick for this matchup, the Rutgers Scarlet Knights to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Both teams tend to play at a slower pace, which could influence the flow of the game. Rutgers ranks 106th in adjusted tempo, averaging 68.9 possessions per 40 minutes, while Minnesota is one of the slowest teams in the country, ranking 357 with just 62.6 possessions per 40 minutes. This deliberate style of play often leads to lower scoring games. Defensively, Minnesota has been more effective, ranking 85th in adjusted defensive efficiency by allowing 103 points per 100 possessions. They also excel at blocking shots, ranking 29th nationally with 4.7 blocks per game. With both teams struggling offensively, ranking outside the top 175 in field goal rate and three-point shooting, this game is likely to be a defensive battle. As our second pick for this matchup, under the projected total is our full game total pick. East Carolina versus Florida Atlantic. The East Carolina Pirates, with a record of 18-12 overall and 10-7 in the American Athletic Conference, are gearing up to take on the Florida Atlantic Owls, who stand at 16-14 overall and 9-8 in conference play. This matchup is scheduled for March 9th at the Alina R. Baldwin Arena. The Pirates are riding a 3-game winning streak, fresh off a 73-64 victory at home against the Tulane Green Wave this past Thursday. On the other hand, the Owls are coming into this game following an 89-80 road loss to the UAB Blazers, also on Thursday. These two teams have faced each other twice in the last 2 seasons, including a close game on January 5th where the Florida Atlantic Owls narrowly edged out a 78-76 win on the road. However, when it comes to covering the spread, the East Carolina Pirates have managed to do so in both of those matchups. This season, Florida Atlantic has struggled against the spread, going just 11-18 against Heat's spread, which means they haven't been meeting expectations in that area. Over their last 5 games, there's a slight difference in rebounding between the two teams, with the Pirates averaging 32.4 total rebounds per game compared to the Owls' 30.8. East Carolina has been in strong form lately, winning 6 of their last 7 games. Meanwhile, Florida Atlantic has hit a rough patch, losing 4 of their last 5. The Pirates have the upper hand here, largely due to their efficient shooting. They've made over 40% of their shots in their last 3 games, while the Owls have shot 47% in the same span. East Carolina also excels at the free throw line, hitting over 74% of their attempts. Their ball movement is solid, and they've been dominant on the boards, grabbing more than 11 offensive rebounds per game, which creates additional scoring opportunities. They also take care of the ball well, minimizing turnovers and limiting easy scoring chances for their opponents. Defensively, the Owls have struggled, allowing more than 75 points per game at home, which could make it tough for them to contain the Pirates' offense. Florida Atlantic did manage to beat East Carolina in their first meeting this season, which was on the road, so it makes sense that they're favored at home this time around. Adding to the occasion, it's senior night for the Owls, which could give them an emotional boost. Still, you could argue that East Carolina is playing the better basketball right now, with 7 wins in their last 10 games and an offense that's been clicking. This isn't the same Florida Atlantic team we've seen in previous years, and they've already lost 5 times at home. With 4 losses in their last 5 games, the Owls have been inconsistent, especially on offense. While this isn't the most exciting game on the schedule, East Carolina should have plenty of opportunities to compete. As our first pick for this matchup, the East Carolina Pirates to cover the spread as underdogs is our full game side pick. Looking at the season-long stats, both teams have shown they can score effectively. East Carolina ranks 151st in the nation with an offensive rating of 108.5, while while Florida Atlantic sits at 80th with a 113 offensive rating. Both teams have also been strong on the offensive glass, with the Pirates ranking 33rd in offensive rebounding percentage at 33.7% and the Owls at 193rd with 27.7%. The Pirates have gone over the total in 3 of their last 4 games. They average 7 points per game and play at the 190th fastest pace in the country, averaging 70.2 possessions per game. They'll be facing a Florida Atlantic defense that's giving up 76 points per game at home. On the flip side, the Owls average 79 points per game and play at the 52nd fastest pace, averaging 73 possessions per game. They'll be up against a Pirates defense that allows 75 points per game on the road. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. Oregon versus Washington. This Sunday afternoon, the Oregon Ducks head to the Pacific Northwest for a Big Ten showdown against the Washington Huskies on the basketball court. The Ducks are coming off a solid 73-64 home victory over Indiana this past Tuesday, where they covered the spread as 6.5-point favorites. On the other hand, the Huskies are reeling after a brutal 92-61 road loss to USC on Wednesday, failing to cover as 7-point underdogs. Historically, Washington leads the all-time series 192-124, but Oregon has had the upper hand lately, winning the last 3 matchups. This includes an 82-71 home victory in their first meeting this season on January 21st. Washington has had a rough season and enters this game on a 5-game losing streak. Sitting at the bottom of the Big Ten standings, their first year under Coach Sprinkle has been a letdown. Meanwhile, Oregon is riding high with 6 consecutive wins and has dominated Washington in recent years, including an 11-point win in Eugene earlier this season. The Ducks boast a strong offense and a better defense compared to the Huskies. Washington has struggled mightily in Quad 1 games, going just 2-11 this season, and there's little evidence to suggest they'll turn things around in this matchup. At this point, Washington doesn't have much left to play for. Oregon, on the other hand, is in a good spot but won't want to disrupt the momentum they've built throughout February and into March. When these teams first met this season, Oregon secured an 82-71 win, and that was back when Washington was still trying to stay competitive. The Ducks might ease up late in the second half if they build a big lead, but a double-digit win still feels likely. As our first pick for this matchup, the Oregon Ducks to win and cover the spread as favorites is our full game side pick. Recent matchups between these teams have been high-scoring affairs. The over has hit in 4 of the last 6 games, and with Washington's defensive struggles, Oregon is well-positioned to put up another strong offensive performance. The Ducks rank 35th in offensive efficiency, 119th in effective field goal percentage, 88th in turnover percentage, and 37th in free throw shooting nationally. They average 68 possessions per game, placing them 149th in adjusted tempo. Washington, meanwhile, ranks 115th in defensive efficiency despite being 278th in effective field goal percentage allowed, 208th in forced turnover percentage, and 251st in opposing free throw rate, giving up .356 free throw attempts per field goal attempt. The Huskies average 68.1 possessions per game, ranking 142nd in adjusted tempo. All signs point to this game going over the total. As our second pick for this matchup, over the projected total is our full game total pick. That's all for now, so if you have any other games you would like reviewed, then leave a comment down below with the game you would like analyzed. Subscribe to our channel, leave a like on this video, and we'll get to it as soon as we possibly can. We would also love to hear your opinion on the picks presented to you in this video, whether you agree or disagree with them, so leave a comment down below and do let us know.